Miss the point of this game we call life. If you're miserable and overworked and under and working all the time and you're just like, it's like, you got to take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, energetically, have hobbies, have relationships, so that when you show up to your work, you can bring enthusiasm, you can bring joy, you can make it a party. Doesn't mean you don't grind, doesn't mean you don't work hard, but like you can bring a kind of energy that is like attractive and people want to work with you.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, guys, we got an e-commerce legend here today, Ezra Firestone. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, happy to be here, man.
Yeah,
I dig your whole show.
Absolutely. It's been a surreal moment for me. I've been watching you for 5-6 years, man.
Right on.
I used to be big in e-commerce, but
Jersey champs, let's go.
Baby. Left the space for podcasting though. Higher margins.
Yeah, and more fun.
More fun. And we were just talking about that, balancing that fun with money.
Yeah.
And once you reach a certain amount, you know.
I mean, I think that really, here's my philosophy on business. Number one, have fun. Because if you are not enjoying yourself, you've missed the point of this game we call life. If you're miserable and overworked and under and working all the time and you're just like, it's like, you got to take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, energetically, have hobbies, have relationships, so that when you show up to your work, you can bring enthusiasm, you can bring joy, you can make it a party. Doesn't mean you don't grind, doesn't mean you don't work hard, but like you can bring a kind of energy that is like attractive and people want to work with you. First, have a good time. Second, make good make things that are truly valuable. Make something that serves the world. And you are never done making your product better. Your homie just told me about, you guys are building a studio. It's like, you got to keep making your product better. Number two, make good things. Number three, be profitable. If you can do that at any scale, you won the game. I don't care if it's 50,000 a year, 500 million a year. I mean, you and I are both chasing large wealth creation, but it's like, I know so many people who are shackled to these businesses that are like weighing them down, and they may be big businesses, but it's like, I don't want that life. I'm not trying to live that. So it's like, have a good time, make good things, be profitable. That is the winning. I've been doing this 20 years now. It's like, if you can do that, you won.
I think that's important because some people just chase the profitability and they don't care about anything else that comes with it.
And then what happens is they got no friends and they're all fucking miserable and they're all overworked and they have nothing in their life other than business. And it's like, hey, scale is cool. I'm interested in scale. I sold a business for a whole lot of money, like, but not at the expense of your life.
Right.
And you're told everywhere you look is like, everyone is selling you how you're flawed. Everything you look at is how you're too fat, you're not tall enough, your teeth aren't white enough, you don't make enough money, you're whatever, some inadequacy. Someone is selling you that you're inadequate in some way. And then, hey, we got the solution here. And people think, especially young men, that making money is going to bring them fulfillment. It's going to bring them happiness. But I will tell you, if you cannot have, insert love, pleasure, gratitude, joy, appreciation, presence, here and now, you won't get it there and then. There is nothing, no amount of that you will acquire that will make you happy, that will make you fulfilled. You cannot acquire your way to fulfillment. It's like fulfillment cannot be had or gotten. You can be fulfilled, and that is a mindset. That is an internal thing. It's not something you can get from the outside. So I see a lot of these young dudes coming up in the game and they feel like, oh, as soon as I make some money, then I'm going to be happy. It's like, nope, wherever you go, there you are. And you're going to be that same person chasing that thing. And it's like, whatever it is that you want in your life, you got to figure out how to have it now. And if you can be gratified by your life, what's interesting is then that somehow attracts all the that you want.
I agree. And the thing with money is when you set these goals, it's never enough once you hit it.
And your lifestyle expands.
Yep.
I went from being on the very low end of the economic spectrum growing up, I mean, like for real, to now I'm like one of the wealthier people that I know. And money will buy you comfort. And it's nice to be comfortable. I like to be comfortable, you know, it's like, but there's a certain level, I'm going to say maybe $500,000 a year, that like after that, it's not doing anything for you from a happiness standpoint. But, you know, if you're making under a couple $100,000 a year, there's a lot of comfort that you can buy. You can take care of your family, you take care of your community, take care of your parents. You can like, you know, get yourself some support with child support. You can get like physical, you know, trainers. Like, yes, a certain amount of money is going to make your life way less intense. But there is that level. And there was some study that came out, and I'm going to quote it because it was like 7 years ago. It said after 75,000, but it's like, that's not going to do it. That's too low. It's like after probably like 250 grand.
I agree. For me, it was when I had to stop looking at the check at restaurants. That was like a big thing for me because I used to always worry about it.
I love seeing your Instagram. You're always posting all the...
All right, guys, shout out to today's sponsor, Babbel. 1 in 5 Americans have learn a new language on their bucket list. If that's you, make 2024 the year you finally check it off the list. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors anymore or waste hours on other apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel has quick 10-minute lessons that are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. It's designed by real people for real conversations. Babbel has really helped me lock in Spanish. My fiance's family is all Latina, and now I'm able to communicate with her family members, and it's awesome. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove that Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. They have over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of their 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/social hour. That's babbel.com/social hour, spelled BABBEL.com/social hour. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Rasmus, I hit you up. I was like, yo, dude, like, where should I go in
Did
Vegas?
you try them out yet?
No, we're going to Lotus of Siam tonight.
Oh, that's a good one, man.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it for sure. Did you always have this mindset? Because I feel like when...
Well, so I grew up on a hippie commune, and it's an alternative lifestyle experiment. It's a group of people who sort of checked out of society and said, hey, we're going to do something different. We're going to like explore how to live pleasurably in a group. And they are one of the only groups of people like you. So do you know anything about the commune movement in the late 60s, early 70s in America?
I just know they did a lot of acid.
Yeah, they did. Good times, man. Let me give you just a quick, brief overview, okay? So here we are. We're post the Great Depression. I think Eisenhower is president, and he's looking for a way to stimulate the economy. And they come up with this idea of military tract housing, which is what we now know as the suburbs. If you look at America, it's developed east to west. The houses on the East Coast are like Victorians. They were big. They fit the whole family. The West Coast is like single family units, 2 in a box, white picket fence. The reason they did that was because they could repurpose the sort of like factories that were being used to make tanks and all that to make consumer durables, washers, dryers, toasters. And then they had a mass broadcasting system that was visuals. Like this is the late 50s. So you've got TV. So you can promote this idea of, hey, if the Leave It to Beaver, the Pleasantville, if every single family unit lives separate from one another, you don't have your, grandparents and all that. Every house is going to need a washer, going to need a dryer, going to need a toaster. And then they wrote the GI Bill, which gave the mostly white soldiers coming back from the war access to affordable housing. Boom. Greatest economic stimulus plan in the history of America. Then the baby boom happened. This is my parents' generation.
Right.
These baby boomers, the flower children, they came of age in the late 60s, early 70s. We are pre-AIDS, post-penicillin. There's no STD that can kill you, baby. Free love. Let's go. It's a good time to be alive. And so this group of individuals, they decided to, groups of them on the coast of America said, hey, you know what? This whole nuclear family thing, we're going to rebel against this. We're going to start communal living. We're going to go back to living in communes. And you had, a few thousand communes spring up on the coasts of America. You get a group of people together. Commune, intentional community, it's just a group living together. And like where I grew up is not like some of these places, like you have to buy into some ideology or whatever. Yeah. Like this is just like a commune of hippies. Okay, what happens when you get a group, 2 people as a group, right? Let's imagine a relationship across the gender line, across the intimacy line. You got 2 people. Things come up: jealousy, money, possessions, communication, sensuality, power dynamics, gender dynamics, money dynamics. Most groups of 2 fail. They just don't make it, right? Because it's like you fail at any one of those things, you're going to fail at the relationship. Now imagine stacking multiple people and the relationships between all of them and multiple couples. It's like these things fall apart so quickly. Think about a business, how hard it is to even retain employees.
Right.
And that's like there's no emotional stakes on the line. It's just salary and then work environment. So it's hard to keep a group of people together. And this place I grew up has successfully navigated living together as a group and is one of the only examples really in America of like successful long-term group living. And so I was raised in this environment where it was like about these concepts that I'm talking about now. And it is what has made me successful in business. I'll give you one more little run and then I'll stop, which is up until about a year ago, I did this speech. I have a mastermind for e-commerce business owners. I did a speech and I was like, I have 180 employees across 5 brands. And in 17 years as a CEO, not a single person has ever quit because they were unhappy or they weren't paid well or there was some conflict we couldn't navigate.
Yeah.
And then 5 people left like the next week. I was like, I can't say that anymore. But I can say that keeping a group together is very difficult. And I think still what we have done, which is very few people have ever left, is pretty uncommon.
Very uncommon, especially in the workplace. I feel like people get a new job every year these days.
Totally. And also like you're going to have conflict and you're going to have, you know, you're going to have managers bulldogging and power dynamicking on the people underneath them.
Right.
You're going to have people stealing from you. Like just going to go down. People are going to people on each other. And you got to figure out how to handle that because you keep a group together over time, you can be pretty successful.
Yeah, because that's like our grandparents' generation where they would get the same job every day for 40 years and never leave. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
So how do you think you were able to do that?
Well, for one, I treat my team members. So like as human beings, you and I, we are of equivalent value is my viewpoint. Now, in a corporate hierarchy, I am above the people on the team. But as humans, I'm like, look, we're of equal value. And I say 3 things when people join my company. 1, if you see something, if you see a way we could make our products better, that we could serve our customers better, that you could be enjoying your work life more, please tell somebody because you're the only person who can see from your vantage point. And I want to know what you see. And I value what you see. Hey, we may not take your feedback every time, but like, I want to know. And if people feel like they have autonomy and freedom to share what they think and that it will be listened to, there is nobody is listening to anybody who's low down on an organizational chart, usually in leadership.
Right.
If people feel like these people will listen, I have agency within this company to direct. If you see a system within our company that is not serving you, some meeting that's boring or stupid that we don't need to be doing, tell your manager or tell me. And we will take that into account. And it's like people feel like, wow, I can affect change in this organization. Second thing I do is I set goals with them. I say, look, within 3 years, you are going to be the best social media manager in the world. Here's how, so I give them a goal. Here's how we're going to get you there. We're going to have a Slack channel and it's going to populate all the best social media blogs and you're going to read it 4 hours a week. You're going to take notes. We're going to meet once a week or you're going to meet with your manager and we're going to figure out what did you learn that we could implement in the business. And we're going to let you cut your teeth on that. Where you're going to go through these courses. We're going to send you to these events. Like we're going to give you a path towards growth. And we have other ways, but it's like you have people feel heard, listened to, acknowledged, valued, and you have a clear way in which you are supporting their professional development. Dude, nobody is leaving. And then you also you pay as generously as you can. You have as good benefits as you can. You don't micromanage them all crazy. Like you treat them the way you would want to be treated if you were working somewhere. And if you do all that, and there's more we can talk about. I don't want to waste the whole podcast on it, but it's like people are loyal to you. The other thing I did, I mean, look how many of my cousins are here right now. My dad's, I hired all my friends and family, all their friends and family. Downside of this is you end up with a homogenous group because your friends and family tend to look and think like you. And that is bad in a business. So eventually you got to like go out from that. But I also feel like, hey, I want to work with people that I love because do you know how much time you spend working? A lot. And you want to work with random cranksters and you want to work with people that you know and like and trust. I had to fire cousins. I had to, business isn't a charity. Some people have to show up and do a good job, but like I like working with people that I know.
That's interesting because a lot of people advise not to mix the two.
I know. Well, a lot of people suck at communication. At the end of the day, communication is everything. It is how you convert because at the end of the day, if I'm going to sell you something, I got to have most people communicate and it goes, kind of doesn't quite land. It doesn't get there. Communication is not what you say. It is what they hear and perceive and feel. And if you take responsibility for what someone heard, then you win at communication. You ask them at the end of the meeting, so what did we just cover? What did you get out of this? What did you hear? You get reinforcement. Like you get good at communication. So it's interesting, this hippie commune that I grew up on, right? One of the areas of their study is sensuality, the potential of the human nervous system for sensation. And everybody wants to come to us for sex information. But it's like,
sex?
Yeah, well, it's sensuality, sex, like your ability to perceive sensation in your body, sex, sensuality, whatever. Okay. But it's like, look, your sex is going to be as good as your communication. You spend 99.9% of your time communicating and 0.01% of your time sexing. It's like, sex is not your problem, but that's what people think.
Wow,
in a
that is an
relationship.
interesting way to look. So you're saying to have more sex or?
I'm saying have as much sex as the two people in the relationship feel is pleasurable and fun, but at the end of the day, the quality of that sex, and we'll get back to business in a second, but like the quality of that experience is going to come down to your communication ability, not your technique. Or I mean, look, you have to know where the clitoris is. If you're a guy, there's some things you got to know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like it's not really about that. It's about your intention and your communication And that is ultimately what is going to result in a winning relationship, whether it is one that includes sensuality or not.
I could see that because there's sexless marriages, and when you look deeper into it, it's because of the communication isn't there, right?
Yeah.
And people don't connect the dots there. Wow, that is fascinating. You recently stepped down as CEO, you said, right?
Yeah.
Was that a tough choice for you?
No. I think everybody would do it once they see the other side of the game. It's like, I was a CEO since 2007.
Damn.
So I don't know how many years that is, but that's when I got into e-commerce in 2005, before the iPhone. I sold a Fu Manchu mustache wig to some woman in Arizona off a couch on the Lower East Side, Chinatown, New York City. And I was like, if this woman had any idea who she just bought from on the internet, she would be shocked. I'm just some kid, So it's like, I've been running companies so long, and I sold one of my companies for over $50 million back in 2020 to a private equity firm. And I always thought, never sell your company. Why would you? You don't want a boss. You don't want to deal with somebody. If you're making money and having fun and being profitable, why would you ever sell? Right. I got a whole bunch of reasons I sold we can get into. But once I sold, and I was like, oh, what these people are doing is strategically advising me on how to grow this company, but they're not operating it. I am operating it with my team, and they own the majority now. They own 70%. I only own 30%. And so when this thing is successful, they get most of the upside, but they're not doing the daily grind of it. And I thought, that is very smart.
Right.
I already had a CEO for one of my other companies, and it was going well. And I was like, okay, my new strategy is buy or build. And building takes too long, so I buy. And then advise, because there is, like, ultimately you get into entrepreneurship because you are chasing some form of freedom, freedom of time, freedom of not going to a job that you hate. That you're running away from pain, the pain of your parents not being able to pay their bills, like the pain of growing up poor, whatever it is. Like, I had all these things. And so then a company gets so big that the freedom that you were chasing is reduced because the structure and systems and processes it takes to run a $100 million company do not allow for the kind of schedule and freedom in your schedule that we were chasing as do-it-yourself virtual entrepreneurs. And so I got to a point where it's like, you see my daughter here?
Yeah.
She passed away 9 months ago, almost to the day. And throughout her life, her life was not a tragedy. It was a love story. It was really beautiful. One of the things I learned is that it seems to me that expansion kind of happens in all directions. So it's like our capacity to feel pain and fear and anxiety and loneliness and anger and all of that was like stretched to a point that I cannot describe. But then on the flip side, our capacity to feel presence and love and beauty and gratitude were equally stretched. It was like the most beautiful experience of my life, and it was on paper tragic. I mean, it's a little girl born at 1 pound 11 ounces who spends half of her life in an ICU unit across 4 different states. She made it home. She was a little miracle baby who dies of cancer. But I sort of lost my train of thought now. Sorry. What were we talking about?
Daughter was born, and it was
so why did I pull that? So through that experience, I realized, like, hey, I kind of, like, everybody has blind spots, and I have built my whole business life. I'm all virtual. I have no office deliberately. I never have.
Wow.
To, like, have a lifestyle that I was interested in, which was being at home with my lady and hanging out on my piece of land and, like, just, specifically and deliberately building towards a particular lifestyle. And I realized when my daughter, I had to step back for the year or two that was, like, caring for her.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I don't think I'm interested in going back to a 40 to 50 hour CEO work life. So I hired some CEOs, and now I'm doing, investment advising, strategy, and I like it better.
I love that. Yeah, it's kind of ironic, right? You build up the company to a certain point, and it restricts your freedom that you fought your whole life getting.
Exactly.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier. I think the sweet spot, look, I think it's different for everybody, and I think ultimately there is no right answer. There is only what is pleasurable for you. And by the way, hey, when I was in my 20s, I'm late 30s now, right? I had more energy and desire to grind. A 12-hour day was no problem.
Right.
I can't be doing that now, dog. I don't got the, it's like, you kind of like, there's seasons of your life. Like, you're pretty young, but yeah, I'm sure when you were 10 years younger, the grind was a little easier.
15-hour days when I was in my teens.
And so I feel like there's those seasons, and some people never get out of that, and they build their whole infrastructure around needing, that as the backdrop of their existence. They're just working all the time. And it's like, you're going to get to be 40 years old, 50 years old, and like, what do you have to show for it? Yes, you maybe made some money, you got a cool business, but like, what else that life has to offer have you explored?
The compound effect too on your health is nasty.
Yeah,
I mean, I had bad anxiety and panic attacks from just working all day, every day.
Yeah.
You need to get out there, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's like success is a very important part of feeling like you are contributing is a very important part of the human psyche and of your own ability to be fulfilled. But like, it's like when you extract vitamin C from the orange, you just cannot absorb it the same way as if you ate the orange with everything else in it. Yes, you can take the vitamin C tablets. It doesn't work the same. So it's like you need rest and human contact and hobbies and things that you're interested in. You need the whole picture if you want to be fulfilled.
Love it. You mentioned buying is quicker than building earlier. Yeah. How much quicker is it in your opinion?
Building is so hard. Like the way I think about it with entrepreneurs is most people, they start a business and they start judging it at like year one. Right. It's like, no, do not judge your business until you have put in 36 months and you've worked at it at least a couple hours, couple hour blocks, 3-4 times a week, and you've been at it for 3 years. I don't want to hear nothing. Like you got to give it time. It's like gardening. You ever grown anything? Like when I've grown some stuff.
I've tried. I've failed.
Okay. Well, gardening is, I just did the speech for the $1 Million Sellers event where it's like people garden, right? Or people start a diet or a workout program and they start and they stop, they start and they stop. But what's happening with gardening is like you plant a seed and you water it, nothing happens. And you water it, nothing happens. And you water it, nothing happens. Some people just give up. But what's happening is below the soil, the seed has sprouted and it's starting to travel up, but you don't see anything. So you give up. And it's like, give yourself 3 years before you judge the thing. I think now once you have money, it makes so much sense to buy because when you buy, you've established product market fit. You're building, you don't know if there's going to be product market fit. I know there's some sales when I buy something. I'm like, I can see the profit margin. I can see the sales. I can see the customer. It's like, yo. And so now I buy companies in the $5 to $40 million a year revenue range.
And do you care about the profit margins?
Profit margin is everything in business. And profit margins are eroding post iOS 14.5, the reduction of the digital ad effectiveness, all these wars going on in the world, fuel cost increasing. Like you used to be able to, in e-commerce, buy for $1 and sell for $5 pretty effectively. If I bought something for $5, sell for $25, plenty of margin in that. You kind of need to buy for $1 and sell for $7 or $8, unless you're buying for expense. If you're buying for $50, okay, you can buy for $1 and sell for $3 because there's $100 margin there. If you're buying for $5, you know, you kind of like don't have enough margin if you buy for $1 and sell for $5. So you buy for $5, you sell for $25. It's only a $20 margin. It's not enough. Like
with ad cost.
Think about it this way for e-commerce. Okay, I can give you the breakdown of I run an information publishing business, software as a service business, agency business. All those are in the $10 million a year range. Yeah. But for e-commerce in particular, let's imagine you got $1 million a year in revenue. 300 grand's going to cost of good. 200 grand's going to general and administrative costs, salary and shit like that. 300 grand's going to marketing. You got 200K left in profit, 20% profit margin. If you're lucky, if you're not losing money on shipping, if you don't have other crazy insurance, it's like you have to buy for $1 and sell for $5 at a minimum.
What would your advice be to me? So this podcast does about $3 million a year in revenue.
Let's go.
I want to scale to 10 though.
I'm talking about, baby.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
I want to scale to 10 though. You know what I mean? So what would your advice to me be?
Well, so the interesting thing about, so what you have is, that's really awesome, is the attention of a lot of eyeballs, right? Like we're in the attention aggregation business. If you can garner attention and leverage that to promote products, promote services, build your own brands, I think it's going to be hard to get to 10 million on just sponsorship alone unless you get much bigger, which maybe you will. And I mean, obviously, like I follow your Instagram. You're having big names on all the time. Like you're compelling. So some people are trying to be creators and it's like, yo, I'm sorry. You're boring. Yeah. It's like, you may have information, but it's like nobody wants to listen to your boring dude. It's like, it's like, I'm sorry, you have to have that thing, whatever that is, the enthusiasm, the spirit, you have that, right? But when you look at a business, I'm going to look at you objectively as a business. You got 3 million. How much of it's coming from sponsorship?
I'd say 40%.
Okay, and then what else you got? You got products, you got
paid
services?
guests, events, and views from like YouTube and stuff.
Paid guests, events, views from YouTube. Great. So high ticket in an information business is always the right answer. So for example, we have an agency. We do services for people. I'm not telling you should do services, but I've got a company that sells $100 million a month. And they write to me to run their ads about 200 grand a month. Wow. So it's like anything that you can sell that is high ticket, a mastermind. Like my mastermind business is my best business. It's $1,500 a month, so it's like $18K a year. And I make maybe $1 million, $1.5 million in revenue on it, 40% or so profit margin. It's not that hard. It's super valuable for the members. Not that hard for me to do. It's like, that's a great business model. So product expansion. So here you have sponsorship, you got guests paying you, you got events, and then I can't remember what else you said. What else can you add on? Well, you could add on the development of your own physical products, and you could sell. I mean, you came from the physical product game, bro. You know what's up.
The margins scare me though.
Not for apparel, or I mean, apparel, dude. Apparel you can get some real high margins for apparel. Any consumable, like how many people listen to this are digital creators? Like the dude was just telling me out there, which is your guy is awesome, Bobby. Fucking love that guy. He's the man. But he was like, yo, we've been going hard this last week. I'm tired. Like I'm gonna take an energy shot. Any physical product that is, you notice everything I sell is consumable. That's deliberate. I only sell consumables because once I get a customer, I know I'm going to get a repeat customer. So for you, I'd look at how can I add a high ticket? How can I sell my own product or service to this audience that is watching me? And then just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, what year are you in on this?
A year.
You're a year in? You already had 3 million?
Yeah.
I'm here, dog. You're good. You're good. You're golden.
I got big goals, man. I'm trying to get those Joe Rogan numbers.
Yeah, you'll get there.
You know?
Yeah,
I love that though. What are you up to now? Because you stepped down to CEO. So are you working full hour 40 work weeks
Well, I'm trying
anymore?
to figure that out. You know, it's like I'm definitely not working 40 hours a week anymore.
Okay.
I started a foundation for my daughter
Nice.
to support other, you know, the interesting thing about, I don't know if you've ever been in an ICU or then let alone an ICU with all sick and dying or some hopefully not dying babies, but it's like, it's a very psychically intense environment. It tends to affect people on the lower end of the economic spectrum. The people who have babies in there tend to have other kids at home and not be able to visit them. And so you're in there, there's 100 babies. The doctors and nurses are doing the best they can. There's no parents. There's nobody there. And you just got all these crying babies. I was trying to take some of them. We had this little neighbor baby. I wanted to adopt her. But it's like, so this foundation is providing financial grants to families so they can not work and be with their babies, because when a baby has nobody with it, it's so much more likely to not make it. If the mom can be there holding the baby, the numbers go through the roof.
Just from holding it?
Holding them.
Wow. So it's an energy thing.
It's like it's like, you ever seen the study where they have the monkey that they gave the stuffed animal as the mom and then the monkey that they gave the real mom?
No, I didn't see that.
The stuffed animal monkey is a psychopath because it's like, you got to look this up. You need contact.
Yeah.
You need touch. And for men in particular, so I do jiu-jitsu. I grew up in doing judo and jiu-jitsu. It's like, the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu for young men is it is a safe and societally acceptable way for men to have contact with one another, which is so important. You know how many lonely men there are committing? Like, we have an epidemic of lonely men between 25 and 45 with no friends. It's like, go join jiu-jitsu, dude. So I'm doing that, and I am back to, look, I'm out on the road. I'm speaking again. I haven't made a piece of content in like 6 years. When Boom blew up and my other businesses blew up, it's like, oh, I can't be a digital creator anymore. I got real businesses that need my attention. So I hired a CEO, put them in place, and I haven't done any content. Turns out I kind of like this. I like podcasts. I like videos. I like speaking at the events. So I think I'm gonna do a little more of that. And we bought this company called Navage, which is it's a really big company. It's in all the drugstore brands, drugstores and everything. And I'm doing digital strategy for that brand, which is really fun. So
nice. What's the product?
It's a nasal irrigator. It's like a powered neti pot.
Okay.
So it's basically push it. And it actually was good timing for us because turns out all the epinephrine and all that stuff you put up your nose doesn't actually work. The FDA just came out and said,
wow.
Ours is natural. It's just a saline solution that pushes through your nose. I'll send you a link.
I love that. I snore at night. I actually tape my mouth at night now.
You do that, dog. You got to try Navage.
Really?
It's a really phenomenal product.
I always feel like I'm like, I don't know if it's the desert air because there's no trees out here, but I feel like I'm lacking air out here.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Allergies, food. I don't know what you eat. You're constantly at fancy restaurants.
I'm pretty good. I just tested my biological age, man.
What are you?
21.
Oh, son.
You ever do that test?
I haven't. No.
Are you into health?
Yeah. I mean, I'm more on the Eastern medicine to Western than Western
I'm all
medicine.
natural.
But but I would do it. Yeah. I mean, I had to do some blood work here and there for stuff.
Yeah.
Keyman insurance. When someone buys your company, they want to make sure you're not going to die.
Oh.
So they buy insurance on you. So if I die, they get paid because I'm an integral part of this. Yeah, so they had to do this whole crazy thing on me where they took all my blood and they did everything.
Wow.
Just so they could assess how likely is this guy to die so we could figure out what kind of insurance policy to put on him.
I did not know that. I wonder if Steve Jobs had that.
Everyone has it. Any big CEO, there is Keyman insurance on that team member.
Damn,
for sure.
That must have been $1 billion. I mean, he died from cancer, right?
I don't know.
That one never made sense to me because when you have all that money.
But think about it. He was a fruitarian for like 6 years. And there's all these studies now that are linking high sugar to it feeds cancer. And like, what do I know? I don't know what I'm talking about. But I will say, you can't just eat fruit for.
I actually had a fruitarian on the podcast.
And did they look any kind of healthy?
No.
Yeah.
To be honest, no, he didn't. He did it for 8 or 10 years. Yeah. Now he eats vegetables with it because he said it was just.
Yeah. Look, here's what I will say. I was a raw foodist for many years. I followed a vegan diet, and like I'm the kind of guy. It's like one of the things that I do have going for me is I will do whatever the thing is. Like I'm into willpower challenges. I drank only water for 21 days one time. 21-day water fast. I like the idea of challenging my will and saying, can I do this? And so I will do the thing, whatever it is. Like I will show up every day with a positive attitude and consistently put attention on growing my business. I will eat the diet however we say we're going to eat it. And I'm going to tell you about Korean 8 Constitution medicine in a second. It's pretty sweet. But basically, here's what I found with the vegans and hey, if you're vegan or raw food, rock and roll, man. I support. I am the guy who thinks you're doing it right, who thinks you're perfect as you are, who is in support of however you want to party, as long as you're not hurting anybody. So this is not meant to attack you. But I will say, my experience was that many of these people are so neurotic about what they're going to eat. They're so caught up in it. It's like, yo, if you just chilled the back and just ate whatever you thought was pleasurable and tried to eat in a good way and relaxed, you would be healthier. This neuroses around, I can't eat this, the tighten. It's like, that is not good. There is a mental, I got to find the study, but it's like how you feel when you ingest food is very important. If you're all freaked out, that's what you're getting into your system.
I agree. Yeah, people don't factor in the mental side of it. They just
so important.
See it as black and white, but there's more to it. But with the fruits and vegetables, man, if you're not eating it organic, there's just so much pesticides. And that goes with meat too, but it's scary to eat right now.
Yeah.
From any grocery store.
You heard of this Korean 8 Constitution stuff?
No, tell me about that.
All right, so check this out. I'm a sucker. I'm looking to be sold any good hustle. Yeah. Someone's got a good diet or program. I'll try it out. Look, I'm interested. Okay, so their philosophy is that there's 8 types of sort of profiles of people. There's really only 4, but there's kind of 8 within the 4. Each 4 kind of has like a similar one. And the way they think about it is that your bone structure, your eyes, your sort of hardware as a human comes from both parents. But your software, which is your blood, your organs, all that comes from just one. And you get sort of one of these 8 different softwares. And they measure you based on the relative strength of your internal organs. So they call me like a colonatonia, which means I have strong lungs and a strong colon. And then I've got like weak liver and weak kidneys. And so that's kind of like, these are your strong organs, these are your weak organs. And what I like about it is, so then they say, hey, based on your profile, we're going to rank meat, grains, fruits, everything from this scale: double positive, positive, neutral, negative, double negative. They're not saying don't eat meat, don't eat grains, don't eat fruits. They're saying if you eat them and you eat the positive ones, you're going to feel better. And so they tell you eat 80% positive foods and you're going to feel really good. I've been doing this now for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I feel really good.
Wow.
It's the best. Now, is it a placebo effect? Is it just because I believe and I bought into this bullshit? I don't know, but I really like it. And it's like, I like it because it's not trying to exclude from you. It's saying, look, for your profile and your blood and all that, we think this is righteous. And then they got another, the dude I went to, he like did a whole sales webinar, and I was like, this is my guy. I kind of fell asleep halfway through it, but I was like, I like you because you're pitching. So basically his viewpoint is there's only a few things affecting humans: mold, virus, fungus, EMF, and I don't know, something else. And he's like, essentially, if you're messed up, it's like one of these things. Then he's got some upsell and how he clears. I don't know.
Wow. And that's Korean?
Korean 8 Constitution medicine.
I'm looking into that. How did they measure your organ health?
They just get your pulses and do all this stuff, and they got this electromagnetic. I don't know, man.
I'm into trying weird health things.
It's
to be
fun.
honest.
Well, it's kind of like, look, if you have a diet that you believe in and you follow it and you feel good about it, you're probably doing better than most. And but then if you're like excluding a million things, you might be deficient in certain things. So what I like about this one is it's like there's no exclusions. There's just these ones are better than these ones.
I love that. Ezra, it's been fun, man. Anything you want to close off with?
What do I want to close off with? My motto in business is serve the world unselfishly and profit. And I think that is a description of how it goes. I'm not saying that because I think you should do it. I'm saying that my experience is if you show up in a role of service for your team members, for your business, for your family, for your community, if you look to, if you are intending to, for a contribution of spirit to your world, you're going to profit in every sense of that word, financially, karmically, energetically. And so, for the young people, so I know a lot of young people watch this podcast coming up, it's like, it is not about how much you work, it's about what you produce. It is not about how much you pull out, it's about what you put in. What you invest into your world will ultimately result in what you can get out of it. And if you look around and you say, how can I have a good attitude, show up and contribute to whatever is going on, you're going to be successful.
I love that. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, see you next time. Boom.